Ambassador James Miller stood at the massive window of the Galactic Council station, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. Below him, the blue-green world of Centauri Prime rotated slowly, its artificial rings glittering in the light of 3 suns. 50 years of diplomatic service had etched deep lines into his face, but today would mark the last time he would have to maintain this facade of patience. The council chamber still echoed with the dismissive remarks of the High Speaker. Once again, humanity's petition for equal trade rights had been rejected. The 3 ancient species, the tall, crystalline builders, the energy-based luminars, and the hive-minded collective, had spent 4 hours explaining why humans were still too immature to deserve equal status. Miller's holopad buzzed. Another trade restriction had just been imposed on Earth's colonies. This one would cut their industrial output by 30%. He didn't bother reading the full notice. Ambassador Miller, a musical voice, chimed behind him. He turned to face High Speaker Eternal, the builder representative. Her crystalline form shimmered with condescending sympathy. "We hope you understand that these measures are for humanity's own protection. You're simply not ready for unrestricted access to advanced technologies." Miller smiled. It was the same smile he had practiced for 50 years, the one that never reached his eyes. "Of course, High Speaker. Humanity understands its place in the greater galaxy." The High Speaker's crystal segments shifted in approval. "We're pleased you finally accepted this reality. Your predecessors were so aggressive in their demands." "Yes," Miller said quietly. "We've learned much from our betters." As the High Speaker glided away, Miller activated his neural implant. The connection was quantum secured, untraceable by even the Council's most advanced detection systems. In his mind's eye, a simple message appeared: "Proceed." He vocalized one word: "Yes." The response came instantly: "Protocol Omega authorized." Time window: 30 minutes. Miller walked calmly to his diplomatic shuttle. His staff, all 4 of them, followed silently. None of them spoke until the shuttle's doors sealed and the security systems confirmed they were clean of surveillance devices. "Sir," his aide, Tom Wright, looked at him questioningly. "Send the signal," Miller said, removing his diplomatic insignia and placing it carefully on the shuttle's table. "And get me Earth Command." The shuttle's hidden quantum communicator activated. On the main screen, the stern face of Defense Command Leader Martha Rogers appeared. Her gray hair was pulled back in a severe bun, her eyes sharp and alert despite the late hour on Earth. "Ambassador," she said, "I take it they rejected the petition." "As expected," Miller replied. "They've added new restrictions. 30% cut to colonial production." Rogers nodded slowly. "And your recommendation?" Miller looked at the station through the shuttle's viewport. 50 years of being patronized, restricted, and treated like children. 50 years of watching humanity's potential being artificially suppressed by species who feared competition. 50 years of gathering intelligence, building in secret, and preparing for this very moment. "They've left us no choice," he said firmly. "The diplomatic approach has failed. Activate Protocol Omega." Rogers smiled grimly. "Understood. You have 15 minutes to clear the sector. Good luck, Ambassador." As the shuttle accelerated away from the station, Miller watched the Council headquarters grow smaller. His neural implant fed him real-time data from Earth Command. Throughout human space, hidden shipyards were powering up. Cloaked factories were switching to military production. Sleeper agents were activating across 1,000 worlds. The Council had spent 50 years convinced they were dealing with a young, naive species that needed guidance and restrictions. They were about to learn how wrong they had been. "Sir," Wright called out, "we're at safe distance. Earth Command reports all assets are in position." Miller nodded. "Send one final message to the Council." He dictated it himself, sending the words that would mark the end of humanity's age of diplomatic submission. To the Galactic Council. Humanity withdraws from all diplomatic agreements, effective immediately. We tried asking nicely. We tried playing by your rules. We tried for 50 years. Now we'll do things our way." As the shuttle jumped to hyperspace, Miller allowed himself a real smile for the first time in decades. The galaxy was about to learn why you should never underestimate humans. General Robert Walker stood in the hidden command center deep within Earth's moon, watching as thousands of holographic displays showed the largest military mobilization in human history. The chamber, carved 2 kilometers beneath the lunar surface, had existed for 30 years without the Galactic Council ever discovering it. "Status report," he commanded, his voice carrying across the bustling control room. His operations chief, Lisa Brown, stepped forward with a datapad. "All Kuiper Belt shipyards are at full capacity, sir. Production is at 300% of projected requirements. The alien observers stationed on Mars and Venus continue to report normal civilian activity." Walker nodded, studying the massive holographic display showing the solar system. To any outside observer, humanity's space traffic appeared normal. The same merchant ships, the same passenger liners, the same mundane activities they'd seen for decades. They couldn't see the quantum-masked shipyards or the massive fleets hiding in dimensional pockets throughout the system. "How long until the first wave is ready?" he asked. 6 hours, Brown replied. "Admiral Stone's fleet will be fully armed and crewed by then. The stealth systems are performing better than expected. We've had 3 Council scout ships pass within detection range, and they saw nothing." Walker allowed himself a small smile. For 50 years, humanity had shown the galaxy a carefully crafted mask, the image of a young, somewhat primitive species struggling to keep up with galactic technology, all while they built something far more advanced in secret. His neural implant pinged. "Priority message from Luna Base 2, he announced. "The Council's surveillance satellites are beginning their scheduled pass. All external activities cease for the next 15 minutes. The huge construction bays in the Kuiper Belt instantly went dark. Dimensional shields snapped into place around the growing fleet. To any watching eyes, the solar system would appear perfectly normal, just another quiet day in human space." "Sir," a young technician called out, "we're receiving the latest intelligence from our embedded agents. The Council's military forces are operating at standard readiness. No unusual activities detected." Walker approached a secondary display showing the Council's primary military base in the Orion sector. Their supposedly mighty fleet sat idle, their crews unaware that their most advanced weapons were decades behind what humanity had developed in secret. "What's the status of Operation Mirror?" he asked. Brown brought up another display. "Complete success, sir. Our false technology reports continue to feed into their databases. According to Council records, humanity is still struggling to achieve reliable faster-than-light communication. They have no idea about the quantum network." A deep hum vibrated through the command center as another power plant came online deep beneath the lunar surface. The energy readings were masked by advanced field generators, making them appear as nothing more than normal geological activity to the Council's sensors. "Message from Admiral Stone," another operator announced. "The Titan fleet is complete. All ships report ready for dimensional shift on command." Walker touched a control, and a new hologram appeared. The true extent of humanity's military power. Thousands of ships, each carrying weapons that would make the Council's best technology look primitive. Crews trained in secret, ready to reveal that humans weren't the simple, peaceful species they'd pretended to be. "Send word to all commands," Walker ordered. "Operation Revelation begins in 5 hours. Maintain communication blackout protocols until then." As the orders went out through the quantum network, Walker thought about the Council's reaction when they realized the truth. For 50 years, they'd dismissed humanity as children playing with technology they barely understood. They were about to learn that humans had surpassed them long ago. "Sir," Brown said quietly, "Ambassador Miller's shuttle has cleared the Council sector. We're receiving the final authorization codes now." Walker nodded grimly. "Notify all commands. This is not a drill. When we reveal ourselves, I want the galaxy to understand exactly how badly they underestimated us. In the depths of space, hidden from all watching eyes, humanity's true power waited to be unleashed. The time for pretending was almost over. The massive blast doors of Earth's secret weapons facility, buried deep within the asteroid Ceres, slowly opened. Chief Engineer Mark Davis watched as the latest quantum phase drive emerged from the production line. The device, no larger than a cargo container, contained enough power to make a battleship practically invincible. Final test sequence complete, his assistant announced. Phase variance is 0.001%. It's perfect. Davis nodded, making a final note in his log. This was the 1,000th drive they'd produced, each one representing technology that the Galactic Council had deemed impossible for humanity to develop for at least another century. If they only knew. Begin loading sequence, he ordered. Admiral Stone's fleet needs these installed within the hour. Above them, through layers of rock and stealth shielding, Council spy satellites continued their regular patrol, seeing nothing but a routine mining operation. They had no idea that humanity's greatest technological achievements were being assembled right under their sensors. The facility's main display lit up with an incoming priority message. All departments, initiate final preparation sequence. Protocol Omega is active. Repeat. Protocol Omega is active. Davis turned to his team. This is it, people. Everything we've worked for. Begin powering up all systems. Throughout the facility, machines hummed to life. Weapon systems that had never been tested at full power began their activation sequences. The gravity lance, humanity's deadliest creation, emerged from its hidden bay. "Sir," one of his technicians called out, "the Council's database is still accepting our false technical data. According to their records, we're still using fusion drives from 20 years ago." Davis smiled. The deception had been perfect. While humanity showed the galaxy outdated technology, they had pushed the boundaries of physics far beyond what the Council thought possible. The quantum phase drive didn't just move ships through space. It moved them slightly out of phase with reality itself, making them virtually untouchable. Begin uploading the true technical specifications to all fleet commanders, Davis ordered. It's time our people knew what they're really capable of. On the main screen, data streamed to ships across the solar system. Crews who had trained on deliberately limited systems found themselves in control of weapons that could reshape the galaxy. The gravity lance alone could tear a planet's crust apart, though humanity had no intention of using such power unless absolutely necessary. "Sir," his assistant called out, "Admiral Stone is requesting video communication." The Admiral's face appeared on the main screen, her expression stern but satisfied. "Chief Engineer, is everything ready?" "Yes, Admiral," Davis replied. "All systems are at full power. The Council won't know what hit them." "Excellent. Begin transmitting the technical data to all fleet commanders. I want every ship crew to understand their full capabilities before we reveal ourselves." As the data streamed out, Davis watched the reaction meters. Across the fleet, crews were discovering that their ships weren't the simple vessels they'd thought they were piloting. Hidden systems activated, revealing weapons and defenses that would make the Council's best technology look primitive. "Message from Defense Command," a technician announced. "The Council's military forces are maintaining standard patrol patterns. They have no idea we're about to reveal our true capabilities." Davis approached a weapons testing chamber, where the latest gravity lance pulsed with barely contained power. For decades, humanity had let the Council believe they were struggling with basic gravitic technology. The truth was, they had mastered it long ago. "Final system check complete," his assistant reported. "All weapons are operating at optimal levels. We're ready." Davis nodded, sending the final activation codes to the fleet. Across the solar system, humanity's true military power came fully online. Ships that the Council thought were simple freighters revealed arrays of advanced weapons. Defense systems that could shrug off the strongest known alien weapons powered up. "Send word to Admiral Stone," he ordered. "The arsenal is ready. Operation Revelation can begin on her command." In the depths of space, humanity's hidden power waited to be unleashed. The galaxy was about to learn that they had been deceived, not by human weakness, but by human ingenuity. Admiral Rebecca Stone stood on the bridge of the HSS Defiant, watching as her fleet emerged from quantum phase at precisely the same moment across 12 different star systems. The timing was perfect. In an instant, humanity's true military power appeared at every major trade hub in Council space. "All ships report successful phase transition," her tactical officer reported. "No detection by Council forces. We are in position at all targets." Stone nodded, observing the massive holographic display showing all 12 operations simultaneously. Council security ships, caught completely by surprise, were frantically trying to understand how hundreds of advanced warships had suddenly appeared in their supposedly secure space. "Open channels to all trade hubs," she ordered. "Standard message, all languages." The message was simple. This station is now under human control. No hostile action will be taken if no resistance is offered. All ships are to maintain current positions. This is not a request. On the main screen, Stone watched as confusion spread through the Council forces. Their sensors were finally registering the true nature of the human ships, vessels far more advanced than anything they had believed humanity capable of building. "Admiral," her communications officer called out, "we're receiving responses from all hubs. Most are confused. They're demanding to know how we breached their defenses." "No response necessary," Stone replied. "Maintain position and control. Remember, not a single shot unless fired upon." This was humanity's true strength, the ability to seize control without destruction. The Council had always assumed that when humans finally rebelled, it would be with brute force and primitive weapons. Instead, they were demonstrating power through precision and technology. "Message from Trading Hub 7. An officer reported. A Council security vessel is powering weapons." Stone smiled slightly. "Activate gravity field around their ship. Gentle reminder protocol." The Council vessel suddenly found itself unable to move, trapped in a gravitational bubble that their sensors couldn't even detect. Their weapons, which they had believed to be the most advanced in the galaxy, proved useless against technology they didn't understand. "All trading hubs secure," her tactical officer announced. "No shots fired. Council forces are standing down." Stone nodded, then activated the fleet-wide communication system. "Begin Phase 2. Reveal the evidence." Across all 12 hubs, human ships began broadcasting proof of the Council's corruption. Trade agreements that had enslaved developing species, secret technological suppression programs, evidence of the Council's systematic efforts to keep younger species dependent and controlled. "Admiral," her communications officer called out, "we're receiving a priority message from the Council chamber itself." On screen, Stone ordered. The High Speaker's crystalline form appeared, its usual calm demeanor shattered by confusion and fear. "What is the meaning of this? How dare you?" "High Speaker," Stone interrupted calmly, "humanity is done asking permission. Your control of galactic trade ends today. We've taken your hubs without firing a shot. Consider what that means about our true capabilities." "This is impossible," the High Speaker sputtered. "Your technology level was a lie," Stone finished. "One you believed because you wanted to, because you never considered that humans might be patient enough to spend 50 years pretending to be less than we are." The High Speaker's crystal segments shifted in agitation. "Our fleet will do nothing," Stone said firmly. "Look at your sensors. Really look at them. Your ships can't even detect how our technology works, let alone counter it. For the first time in Council history, you're not the most advanced species in the room." She leaned forward slightly. "We're establishing new trade protocols. Fair ones. Either accept this new reality, or we'll be forced to demonstrate exactly how outmatched you are." As the High Speaker's image vanished, Stone turned to her crew. Send word to Earth Command. Phase 1 and 2 complete. All objectives secured without casualties. Across 12 star systems, humanity's ships held position, their mere presence reshaping the galaxy's power structure. Not a single shot had been fired. Not a single life had been lost. This was humanity's true victory, not through violence, but through planning, patience, and overwhelming technological superiority. The galaxy was learning an important lesson. Never mistake patience for weakness. The Council's war room buzzed with frantic activity as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The High Speaker watched in growing horror as their most advanced battle fleet approached Proxima Station, where a mere 5 human vessels waited. Our forces outnumber them 20 to 1. Admiral First, the Council's supreme military commander, declared confidently. Even with their unexpected technological advancement, they cannot stand against such odds. The massive holographic display showed the Council's pride. 100 of their most powerful warships, each carrying weapons that could shatter moons. They moved in perfect formation, approaching the seemingly insignificant human squadron. The humans must be taught their place, the High Speaker stated, crystal segments pulsing with anger. Begin the attack. The Council fleet opened fire. Hundreds of plasma torpedoes and quantum beams streaked across space toward the human ships. The High Speaker watched, expecting to see the human vessels vaporized instantly. Instead, something impossible happened. The weapons passed straight through the human ships, as if they weren't even there. Not a single shot connected. What sorcery is this? Admiral First demanded. How are they? Before he could finish, one of the human ships moved. Not the crude, lumbering movement the Council was familiar with, but a smooth phase shift that seemed to bend reality itself. In an instant, it was among the Council fleet. Impossible, the Admiral shouted. No species has mastered phase technology. We deemed it theoretically impossible. The human ship's response was devastating. A beam of concentrated gravitational force lanced out, cutting through the Council's supposedly impenetrable shields like they weren't there. 3 capital ships split apart, their atomic bonds simply ceasing to exist. All ships maintain formation. Admiral First ordered, but panic was already spreading through the fleet. Their most powerful weapons were useless. Their strongest shields meant nothing. And the humans weren't even trying to destroy them. They were systematically disabling ships, leaving crews alive but helpless. Sir, a tactical officer reported, voice shaking, their technology. Our best sensors can't even analyze it. It's as if they're operating on principles of physics we don't understand. The High Speaker watched in stunned silence as the other 4 human ships moved into action. They danced through the Council fleet like ghosts, untouchable, unstoppable. Ships that were caught in their gravity fields simply stopped functioning, their crews trapped in bubbles of altered space-time. Recall the fleet, Admiral First finally ordered, his pride shattered. All ships, full retreat. But retreat wasn't easy when the enemy could apparently ignore the basic laws of physics. The human ships continued their methodical operation, disabling Council vessels with surgical precision. Message from the human flagship, a communications officer announced. Admiral Rebecca Stone's face appeared on the main screen. She looked almost bored. This demonstration is complete. 80% of your fleet is now disabled. We could have destroyed them all. But that wasn't the point. The remaining 20% may retreat, slowly, to demonstrate our mercy. The High Speaker's crystalline form vibrated with suppressed rage. You cannot. We already have, Stone interrupted. Your technology, which you've used to dominate the galaxy, is decades behind ours. We let you believe we were primitive because it suited our purposes. That time is over. The remaining Council ships limped away from Proxima Station, their crews shaken by the realization that everything they believed about their technological superiority had been wrong. In the war room, the High Speaker turned to Admiral First. How? How did we not see this coming? The Admiral stared at the tactical display, where the disabled council ships hung motionless in space. Because we believed what we wanted to believe, we saw them as children playing with technology they barely understood. We never considered that they might be showing us exactly what they wanted us to see. The human ships maintained their position at Proxima Station, a silent reminder that the galaxy's balance of power had shifted fundamentally. The Council's military might, built over thousands of years, had been dismantled in less than an hour, and they hadn't even fired a single shot. The Grand Council chamber, once a symbol of absolute power, now felt suffocating. The High Speaker stood before representatives from 1,000 worlds, attempting to maintain dignity as Ambassador James Miller walked calmly to the center platform. "The terms are simple," Miller announced, his voice carrying through the vast chamber. "Everything changes, starting today." Behind him, massive holographic displays activated, showing evidence that the Council had hoped would never see light. Secret agreements, hidden technologies, systematic suppression of developing species. For centuries, Miller continued, the Council has maintained power through carefully controlled technological advancement. You decided which species could progress and which would remain dependent. That ends now. The chamber erupted in chaos as representatives from younger species saw proof of their deliberate suppression. The High Speaker's crystalline form dimmed as centuries of careful manipulation crumbled. "Earth's terms are non-negotiable," Miller stated, activating another display. "All technological restrictions are lifted immediately. All species gain equal access to trade routes. The Council's monopoly on faster-than-light travel ends today." "You cannot simply," the High Speaker began. "We already have," Miller interrupted. "Look at your screens. Right now, human ships are distributing advanced technology to every species in the galaxy. Technology you claimed was impossible to develop. Technology you deliberately kept from them." The displays showed human vessels at every major world, freely sharing innovations that the Council had suppressed for centuries. Quantum drives, gravity manipulation, phase technology, everything the Council had used to maintain control. But the economic impact, a builder representative protested, "will be managed," Miller assured them. "Earth has already established new trade protocols. Fair ones. Every species will have the chance to compete equally. Your artificial monopolies are over." Representatives from smaller worlds were already gathering around Miller, their previous fear of Council retribution forgotten. They had seen the Battle of Proxima Station. They knew the Council's power was broken. "You're destroying centuries of stability," the High Speaker accused. Miller smiled. "No, we're ending centuries of oppression. The stability you praise was built on the suppression of countless species. Look around this chamber. How many races here were told they weren't ready for advanced technology? How many were forced to pay exorbitant rates for basic necessities because you controlled all trade?" More holographic displays activated, showing the true extent of the Council's manipulation. Species that could have achieved technological parity centuries ago, deliberately held back. Trade agreements designed to create permanent dependency. "Earth's new protocols take effect immediately," Miller announced. "Any attempt to resist will be met with the same response your fleet received at Proxima Station. We would prefer not to demonstrate our military superiority again." The chamber had grown quiet. Representatives from younger species were already accessing the data streams from human ships, discovering technologies they had been told were impossible. "You cannot maintain this," another council member warned. "The galaxy will descend into chaos." "No," Miller corrected. "It will evolve. Every species will have the chance to reach its full potential, something you feared because it meant losing control." He turned to address the entire chamber. "Humanity spent 50 years learning your systems, understanding your controls, and developing ways to break them. We could have done this violently. Instead, we chose to do it right." The High Speaker watched helplessly as more representatives pledged support to Earth's new protocols. The Council's power base was crumbling before their eyes. "The age of artificial restrictions is over," Miller declared. Welcome to a galaxy of true equality. Those who adapt will prosper. Those who resist, he glanced meaningfully at the council members, will find themselves obsolete. As the chamber erupted in celebration from the younger species, Miller sent a simple message to Earth Command. Phase 6 complete. The Council's control is broken. Begin implementation of new protocols. Across the galaxy, humanity's ships continued their work, dismantling centuries of carefully constructed barriers. The Council's age was ending not with violence, but with the simple act of sharing knowledge they had hoarded for so long. The galaxy would never be the same. 1 year after Earth's revelation, the galaxy had transformed. From the observation deck of humanity's new Galactic Coordination Center, Ambassador Miller watched ships from 100 different species moving freely through space, using technology that had been forbidden just 12 months ago. Trade volume is up 800%, reported Director Tom Wright, Miller's former aide. Species that were barely able to leave their solar systems are now establishing colonies. The economic boom is unprecedented. Miller nodded, watching the ship from one of the youngest spacefaring races smoothly execute a quantum phase jump, technology that the Council had claimed they wouldn't be ready for in 1,000 years. Any problems to report? He asked. Minor disputes over newly accessible resources, Wright replied. Our mediation teams are handling them. Turns out when you don't artificially restrict technology, most species are quite capable of reasonable negotiation. The massive display showed the former Council worlds, now just equal members of the galactic community. The High Speaker and other Council leaders had quietly retired, their power base dissolved by the simple act of sharing knowledge. Message from Admiral Stone, an operator announced. The last of the Council's restricted technology vaults has been opened. All contents are being distributed according to the Fair Trade Doctrine. Miller smiled. The doctrine was simple. All technological advances belong to everyone. No more artificial barriers. No more controlled development. Every species now had the chance to reach its full potential. Report from the New Development Council. Another aide reported. 3 previously restricted species have already developed improvements to the quantum drive. They're sharing the innovations freely. This was humanity's true victory, not the military dominance they'd revealed, but the creation of a galaxy where cooperation replaced control. The Council's greatest fear had been realized. When given freedom, species didn't descend into chaos. They excelled. Sir, Wright said, we're receiving a request for help from the Builder homeworld. They're struggling to adapt to the new economic reality. Send a diplomatic team, Miller ordered. Offer whatever assistance they need. We're not here to punish anyone, even our former oppressors. The main display shifted to show the galaxy's new trade routes, hundreds of them, unrestricted by artificial barriers. Species that had been dependent on Council approval for basic necessities were now trading freely, developing their own technologies, establishing their own colonies. Latest update from Earth Command, an operator announced. The last of the Council's restricted zones has been opened. All species now have full access to every part of the galaxy. Miller watched as ships from former Council worlds and newly empowered species moved together through space. The Council had spent centuries claiming that such cooperation was impossible, that strict control was necessary to prevent chaos. They had been wrong. Sir, Wright said quietly, the representatives from the Galactic Assembly are ready for today's session. Miller nodded. The Assembly, unlike the old Council, included members from every spacefaring species, each with an equal voice. No more artificial hierarchies. No more superior species dictating terms to lesser ones. Technology Sharing Report, another aide announced. The combined research efforts of 15 formerly restricted species have produced a breakthrough in gravitational field theory. They're already implementing improvements to the gravity lance design. This was what the Council had feared most, the explosive growth that came from unrestricted cooperation. In just 1 year, species they had dismissed as primitive had made advances that the Council hadn't achieved in centuries. Send word to all Earth commands, Miller ordered. "Continue with the integration protocols. Any species that needs assistance gets it. We're building something new here, something better than what the Council created." As he prepared to address the Galactic Assembly, Miller reflected on how far they'd come. Humanity had revealed its power not to dominate, but to liberate. They had become not conquerors, but facilitators of a new galactic order. The Council's age of restriction and control was over. In its place, a galaxy of equals was emerging, proof that the Council's greatest fear had been its greatest mistake. They had forgotten that true power comes not from control, but from cooperation. The galaxy was finally free.